All right, so we're joined from Durham, North Carolina, by Kamal Bell, owner and founder of Sankofa Farms. We thank you so much for taking some time for us. This is our college career readiness class here at Velma Jackson High School, our first career cluster speaker of the semester. We're in the agriculture career cluster. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools: Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Option Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us from up there in North Carolina today.
No problem. Happy to be here with you all.
Uh, Now, obviously, we want to talk about all the great things you do at Sankofa and all the great careers that are available in agriculture, and even some of the non agriculture careers that you can learn from agriculture. But we want to talk about your background. Graduate of NC University, the largest HBCU in America, there in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I have several students here with me now that are very interested in going to HBCUs. So, talk about your HBCU experience, what led you there, and what made you a successful student there.
All right. That's a great question. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be with y'all this morning. What led me to an HBCU was actually my middle school and high school experiences. I went to Catholic school for middle school and high school, and it was my brother's fault. He started getting in trouble, so my parents sent him, then they sent me. So I was like a casualty of just like the decision. But I wanted to get back within my community because the demographic there was only like 17 Black students in my whole entire high school. Out of like 1,200 students, so I wanted to get back inside and with my people. So I went to HBCU, and I had a really cool experience there. I became a member of a fraternity when I was there. I also restarted the Black History Club when I was there. I got 2 degrees or I received 2 degrees from North Carolina A&T. Met my wife there and our first child there. So my my HBCU experience kind of laid the foundation for what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I know you're either got or getting the PhD at NC State as well. So really cool to have that NCA&T, the HBCU PWI combo, and it's just I think it really shows students' diversity to have that combination. But just one thing I wanted to add about HBCUs is, we don't have that demographic at our school that you grew up with, but I still encourage kids to at least consider HBCUs because we actually have a couple HBCU community colleges in Mississippi as well. And I have kids tell me all the time, "Well, I don't want to go to a Black college. I went to a Black high school." Now that's a fair reason, but I always counter with this. I'll say don't not consider an HBCU because of that. Because historically Black does not mean exclusively Black.
Mhm.
And the diversity at HBCUs, even within the Black community, is vast. You have people from all over the world, all over the country. Because look, even down the road here at Jackson State, there are kids from Chicago and California and Florida and Michigan. There's 60 countries represented on campus right now at Jackson State. And that's just one that I know of. So all HBCUs do a great job of that, and it really is a great diverse time to find your community and to meet like-minded people that maybe come from different backgrounds.
Yeah, I do want to let the students know. So I was at NC State. I got all the way until I think my comprehensive exams, and there became like a decision, like a fork in the road, where I think there were a lot of discrepancies. So I didn't finish there. So I'm
Okay.
like ABD, everything but dissertation. So I'm not at NC State anymore. But I will say to students who may look at that, if you have really, and I think this is the benefit of HBCU. Well, some HBCUs, because like everything isn't the same, or every place isn't the same. It doesn't cultivate the same. But I would say specific ideas that you have, especially if they're centered around your community, um, it's going to be difficult for some institutions to captivate and really understand what you're saying.
There you go. There
So
you go.
I think when you're looking at an HBCU, there depending on which one you're at, there's going to be a lot of support for ideas that outside of an HBCU it will be hard for people to understand. And that I think has been a caveat within our community, where when people do have community centered ideas or ideas that are specific to helping our population, where are those ideas cultivated? So,
Wow.
and I'm not saying just because HBCU can do that, But I will say it is important to find a like-minded community to help cultivate your ideas, or to be very strategic in seeing how you can maneuver through the system to bring your idea to life.
Yeah, and just one last thought on this is, no matter where these kids decide to go to college, get involved in student organizations, find your
Yeah.
community, network, find people within your major, outside of your major, find people
Yep.
that can help move your life forward no matter where you decide to go. Because we got a lot of great PWIs that we have students go to as well that can offer some great programs. So even if you're at a PWI, join the Black Student Union, join one
Yep.
of the NPHC organizations. So there are so many, and then we have a lot of first generation Americans in our district as well. Join the International Student
Yep.
uh, association there. So there really is, more and more these schools are making the effort to include so many people. Now, obviously, we want to talk about Sankofa because it was born from you as a teacher wanting to start it at a school, and the
Yeah.
school told you no, and you said, "I'm doing it anyway." So, just tell us about the birth of Sankofa Farms. We've watched the clips on it. We've seen some of the things you guys do there. It's just amazing the work you're doing there in Orange County, North Carolina. So just talk about how Sankofa Farms was born and kind of the things you guys do on a daily basis.
And so Sankofa is a word that means to remember your past as you move forward. But how I internalize it, and the specific meaning to me, is remembering your African ancestry as you move forward in life. So I had a class. It was called African History up to 1800 when I was at A&T, and we watched a movie called Sankofa, and it was one of my elective courses. And I had a few instances where some of the professors there really like helped cultivate my thought. And I did a lot of studying outside of the classroom, and I wanted to build a system that helped my community. And what I wanted it to do was essentially feed, because I saw that we had got this we become disassociated from the land, and and in order to improve things in our community, my approach was start with food production first and acquiring land first. So once I started to cultivate that idea, we chose the name. I then transitioned to working at at a middle school, and there I met a whole bunch of students, and one who was at the farm yesterday, who were that school was rough. Like that school was rough. A lot of those kids that I taught are some of them had died, some of them gone to jail. They've had, like, it was a really tough school. And but I saw that when we started a school garden, those students start to turn their behavior around, and they start to reimagine and look at themselves differently. I took the idea to the principal. She wanted me to focus more, like, now knowing how impractical it was for me to be teaching and then to be running a school garden. Like, they are completely two separate jobs. And
Oh yeah.
I was being asked to run both. When are you going to plant? When are you going to have food? Design lessons around it. But I was essentially bringing in something that they had never seen before. So they didn't know how to manage it. So at the time, I'm like 24 years old. Like, I'm still 23, 24 years old. I'm still a baby, essentially. So once I took it to her, she didn't want to do it. I took it to the head of the district, and they were paying me like pennies to work with the kids. But in the same time, I also acquired my farm. So I ended up partnering with our local church, which proved, or churches historically have always supported, have been, like, churches aren't religious institutions, but they also support community ideals as well, and their task of making the community better. So we worked with the church, partnered with them, and I would go from my farm to the church, and we ended up getting food through the Durham Public Schools, like, summer lunch program, that we would go pick up free meals.
Yeah.
And through that, we started a program, and we would have kids come in and out. But then I decided to focus on a cohort of 4, and we put in a lot of time with those students. And that was the birth of our Sankofa agricultural program. But then we hit COVID, and then I think that really affected youth development. And I think all of us in general, with the emphasis on a hyper individual. And a hyper individual is somebody who's concerned mainly about themselves and not thinking about people or how actions affect others. Like just like a small definition of it. And they did so well, but when they hit COVID, we started running the problems and the hyper individualism started. So the program was great. We will restart the program. I'm hoping next year, but we're
Cool.
also trying to figure out how, like, it's a working farm, it's a business too. We have a nonprofit. I'm speaking with people, like I'm doing all these different things. How the model can begin to run without being Kamal doing everything or having his hands in everything. So we're looking forward to that journey.
That's awesome. And it's just and we'll send everybody the links to some of the work you guys do. It's really incredible to see. But something you talk about is the importance of agricultural skills. And there's so many great agricultural careers because this is one of the fastest growing fields when it comes to technological advances on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's due to not only just companies wanting to make money, but there's a need. There's always going to be a need for food production. There's always going to be a need for construction supplies. There's always going to be a need for clothes to be built, and all that starts with ag. And we have several students here that have gone through agriculture programs at Mississippi State, at Alcorn State, great HBCU just south of here, or even getting associate's degrees or certifications in agriculture. One thing that your farm does is you focus on the variety of skills. There's a lot of money to be made learning ag skills that do not require a degree, and there's also a lot of money to be made from ag skills that do require a degree. So, as somebody that has their hands in all of this, what are some of the areas you're seeing that anybody could learn and make a great career out of in agriculture?
Yes, I would start with just learning agriculture, like just learning how to farm. And I know you all's farms just because of I did a little research on the area. I think you all have like 260 something students in the high school. If I'm not,
Yeah.
if I'm not,
Yep.
if memory serves me,
Yeah.
I think that you all systems will look different. But I think a young person getting involved in how to produce food at scale, you all have more of an opportunity for trading well, international trading and or export markets. So I think that I would learn that system and look at how to make that viable, even though the inputs are like, I look at it like this. This is a very challenging time for farmers, but innovation is made during challenging times. So I think with students having that background, you'll learn it's the thought process and the thinking and approaches that translate directly to farming that can translate in any other field. And you get paid a lot to think. So I think looking at that opportunity, I don't know exactly the barriers of entry in a place like Mississippi. I know there's a historical piece, but I haven't studied like the top commodity. I would imagine cotton would be one. Off gate. I don't know if they do corn and soybeans and sorghum. I
Oh,
just don't know
big
what
time.
commodities. Okay,
Big
big
time.
time down there. Okay. I think just looking at how to like what's going on now with the tariffs and how these things pan out, because what we do know is you can't be reliant on the government to sustain your farm. So that requires plenty of innovation and new models right now. And if someone figures it out, you're going to be on someone's agricultural committee, going to be speaking. That's an opportunity. You can go into research and development with seeds. You can go into accounting. Like there isn't a field that agriculture doesn't touch. Rare earth minerals is a big piece. That's another segment that can fall under the agricultural umbrella. There's not a field that you can't do. Even down to sports, because where are the balls and the materials made out of, or the fabric and the design of the jerseys. So whether we know it or not, food, fiber, fuel, agriculture touches every single market, even down to AI with the minerals and making these things work. Agriculture touches everything. So I would say start with learning how to use your hands. And also it builds confidence with you too. There's nothing I feel like I can't do as being a farmer now. Like I think it's very hard to get into the industry. It's very hard you have to be innovative, constantly develop systems. But I feel like I can go into any space now being a farm owner and essentially an entrepreneur, businessman, and be able to look at how to improve systems.
Yeah, and I think that's funny you mentioned sports because Mississippi State here in Mississippi famously has the sports turf management major. And they're part of the School of Life Sciences and Agriculture. And you can get a degree on how to manage the playing surface of sports fields.
Turf
So
man.
they yeah, I mean,
Yep.
so that's a great example. And then, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It touches every industry because there's been a need for drone pilots. There's been a need for app developers. We have another friend of this class out in Texas, and they use automatic cow milkers, and everything is measured on apps. So they're not even there. And they said, look, the people making the most money are the ones that are fixing our machines, and
Yep.
none of them have degrees. So and
Yep.
I think one of the clips does such a good job of showing some of the machines that you guys work on, and it really shows. At the end of the day, you got to have those farm skills are the ones that are the ones that are most needed. Now, before I get to their questions, I just had one more thing I wanted to talk about, and you mentioned this in one of the clips. Is why I wanted to say it because you said you think the demographics of farmers are going to continue to change because just like any other industry, there's been a barrier to um, to maybe the black man getting into farming, and then even women getting into farming. So, when you see it on TV, you don't always see it. When you see it in social media, you don't always see it. But there is always a need for these young black kids to consider getting into ag, and these young ladies to consider getting into ag. So, what are some of the changes that you're seeing that maybe they could be a part of as they make decisions as they transition through high school?
I think that where they enter in is going in with an idea to diversify the industry and not be committed to monoculture, only doing one crop. It's taken farmers generations to accept that idea, and I think that's probably why the industry looks the way it does. Be able to get in and think. I think that's the biggest. I think that's the biggest opportunity. The field is wide open. I do think there is a barrier in leadership development, and I think that's something that we want to focus on. Is how can we get young people like in the Mississippi into agriculture, and then helping them see the opportunities and get them experience outside of it that help develop them into leaders. Because I would say, just with like our like we've had a great experience. Like I've met with VP Harris as she
Oh
was running
wow,
for president. I met with her. She came to Durham for her book tour, and she personally requested for me to be there. And I met with her
wow,
then. So I have a really good relationship with that office. I she also wrote about our conversation in her book, 107 Days. Like we have a really good relationship. But I think about, but that was her, like a state senator identifying me to meet with her, and then her identifying me as a leader in the field to meet. If that doesn't happen, how does a young person get to that? And that's what we have to figure out, because our leadership and what our communities need, there isn't a platform that develops young black people in rural or urban areas to be leaders in agriculture. And so we got to figure out these. So when we talk about like an entry point, it's going to be us being innovative. That's the entry point. Innovation is the entry point, because agriculture needs so much, and it looks different based on your cultural background. Agriculture looks way different in the black community does in the white community because of generations and perspective. Like at the end of the day, agriculture is also an art, so everybody does it differently. So there's the barrier. The entry point is innovation. How can you understand and innovate the landscape of agriculture? Because you don't have to come at a farmer. You just need to have farming experience and background. But then look at, okay, how do farmers become more than being just a farmer? Because that's one thing that we're battling right now. Everybody just looking at me as just a farmer, but I meet with high level politicians. I'm an author of a children's book. I speak publicly. I'm younger, so I'm not dressed in overalls and boots. Like I never worn overalls like in my life outside of being a kid. So people I think are still having a hard time. Like, what are they looking at? And I can't do anything about that part of it. But I think if the younger group comes in, who's actually like they're running the country essentially. Like that's why somebody like Mondani can get elected, because of people younger than 40. They're the voting block of the future. So I think once they realize that, and like realize that they have the power, you understand how these systems work when you change them.
Awesome. Well, I do have some great questions here. I'm gonna try to get to as many of these as I can.
Okay.
This first one is Corbin Smith. He's in 10th grade. Wants to be an attorney, but he wants to go to HBCU.
Okay.
It's his dream to go to HBCU, and he asked, "How was it adapting from a high school student to being an HBCU student, being around that many different types of people?"
That's a great question. Howard University, I know for sure has a law program, probably one of the best ones like outside, like in the country. North Carolina Central does too. It's a great one. It's one of the best in the country, from my understanding too. Um, I would say the transition. I would say this: college, you're going in at 18. Like I mentioned, at 24, I'm still a child. Um, 18 is you're still so young. You might be 19 if you have a late birthday or early birthday. Well, I guess late birthday, late in the year. I guess if I'm saying that right. But um, you might be 19 if you turn 19 that August when classes start. I would say if there are any prerequisites I could do that are near me, like at a community college, go there, mature, and then go straight in, because the temptation to party and hang out and all that is so strong because you're so young. So I would say, but if you don't, if you just go straight in, stay focused on the grades. You're gonna find a community that people are cool. Like especially Mississippi is one of those places that if you're in DC or you're in North Carolina, or you're like somewhere up, like you're somewhere in Georgia and Mississippi are kind of close. So like, but North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, somebody found Maryland, somebody finds like you're from Mississippi, like you're gonna stand out and be really cool. Uh it's one of those things, you'll find a community there.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because people don't believe this, but I swear this is 100% true. I was walking through Westminster Abbey in London, and I see these people wearing Mississippi state hats in the middle of Europe. So
Yeah.
Mississippi is everywhere. I like this question. This is Shania Willis. She's in 10th grade, one of our basketball players here. She asked, "How long did it take you to get your farm to start and getting it to look how you want it to look?"
Um, that's a great question, Shania. It probably it I think the farm is finally shaping up like after year 10. I would I think 10 years is a good time, like a good time to
Wow.
invest and be in, like, and stay committed to something. Right now, grifting, I think that's what we call it. It's when you're jumping from something to something, just trying to figure out how to make money or how to receive attention from it. Grifting is really big right now, and it's really it's like the thing. Like everybody wants to just do one thing to the next without setting their roots. Staying, I think 10 years has taken us to get to really getting the farm and getting systems around it that I think will have it stay here for generations to come. But 10 years is like my metric.
That's awesome. This is Jaihan Kincaid. I said it, Jaihan. I can't even pronounce names today. He's in 10th grade. And he asked, "I've also thought about getting a PhD. Would that be beneficial? And also, how did farming better you as a person?"
Uh, Good question. I think it's always good to get a PhD. Um, I think it's also great to find a balance between being like academic and just ideating and critiquing all the time, and also being able to have that perspective, also build systems out to use that information to inform a new process or system. I think that's also important. Engineers, that's built in by design for what they do, but for other um, industries or fields, that's not necessarily the job. You might just be critiquing all day. Like somebody's just going in, being a professor. That's your job. But I think it's always good to strive for that, and we need more Black PhDs. So if you have the opportunity to do it, do it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a hard road, but if you find the right community, you'll get through it. The last part of the question is what was the last part? What it has like
How
helped me
has
learn.
farming bettered you as a person?
Yeah, it's taught me patience,
Oh,
and it's taught me that there are things that exist beyond what you want. It has made me more selfless because I can be sitting there, and it's made me not also land on ideas. We can have the same conversation tomorrow, and you'll get completely different answers out of me just based on the experience. So I
there you
don't
go.
hold anything as absolute truth. Like I don't have an ideal or base that I won't navigate from, because you're literally looking at things like you're watching just ideas be challenged. Like I can have an idea of like, I'm not going to kill A, B, and C. And then you're just sitting out there, and then you see a hawk pick up a baby rabbit. And you're like, dang, is that bad? The hawk has to feed its babies. Should I look at this differently? So it constantly challenges you not to hold on to any ideals or beliefs. Not saying I'm about to go out and like just kill every animal I see. No, but it puts things into perspective of like how I view things. That's not universal. Everything doesn't abide by what I believe.
Awesome. Well, I got time for two more. This is Caleb Vaughn. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "What was your major at NCA&T, and what were some of the most difficult classes you had there?"
Okay, I'll start with the last part of the question. The most difficult class was by far anatomy and physiology, and I never did. So I started out as animal science and then transitioned to animal industry. The reason I did that was because I knew I didn't want to go into like science heavy. That I'm like a hands-on, like practicality
Yeah.
person. So I mean, you would be as a vet, but that food production and farming was what I saw. You could be like
Yeah.
a farm animal vet and make a lot of money.
Oh,
I've heard
yes.
some of them making like 400,000 or more. Like you make a lot of money. But my interest was like building farms out and looking at how to produce food. So animal industry fit me better from switching from animal science. So my major when I got in was animal science, and I went to animal industry, and then when I got my master's, it was agricultural education.
Wow. Well, I got one more. This is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, also wants to go to HBCU. And she asked, "What is your biggest motivation as a black man in agriculture?"
My biggest motivation as a black man is my 4 black sons. I got 4 boys, and they're all attached to the farm by design because me and my wife started one. So my biggest motivation is making the industry or creating a space for them to enter, and then we not deal with the mindset of we need to leave the farm. We need to not be close to the farm. My idea is they should go in, diversify it, diversify the industries on the farm. Like we have a book with our middle son, Akeem Keeps Bees. He has a lane. We're looking at doing chapsticks made from beeswax and making salves. Like that's like mixing the beeswax with other ingredients to make like a skincare product. We're looking at things like that to make it more industrious. So I want to do that with the farm. So generations after won't run from it; they'll run to it.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us today. But a couple things before we go. SankofaFarms.com is the website. Kamal Bell _ on Instagram is your Instagram. Really cool stuff on there. Really cool updates on all the great things you're doing in Sankofa. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before we go here is you're obviously such a successful guy up there in North Carolina. And one thing that's important to me, and I'm not excluding our young ladies, but one thing that I think everybody can agree on is we need more successful black men in our communities. It really is something that cannot be talked about enough. And look, I'll be the first person to say black communities and rural communities were left behind for decades when it comes to resources and access and education. But times are changing, and there has never been a better time than right now to make something of your life. So these young men that I have, I've got a lot of talented young men in here with me today, and there's a lot of ability, a lot of intellect, and so much potential. Why do we need them to keep working to be just as successful as a guy like you?
I would tell them, don't follow and I mean this exclusively, any entertainer, basketball, football, rap, anyone in entertainment. Don't follow any of them. They don't have the messaging that can help you better a situation. Growing up and being a black male, it is by systemic design that you don't have role models because the system operates by targeting the male first I because from an agricultural system like the slavery system that built the foundation of America, the man was the one doing the majority of the work. The foundation is built on his back. So if they replace you and they get you off track, you won't be able to put that same energy to building systems in your community and families. So I would tell the young men, look at people like Amos Wilson, Amos Wilson. Um, Look at the Malcolm X's, look at the Marcus Garveys, look at these men, study these individuals, and you'll open up a whole new world and you'll increase your intellectual capacity. Right now, the emphasis is keeping us dumb. Like, and I mean that like specifically. And when I say dumb, it's a person who can't think. So then you end up fueling their system in a different way. Either you're a hyper consumer, you go into the prison industrial complex and you work for free, or you join other activities, the guns, the drug, like those things. Those things are high. They've been highly attractive, and they're fed to us to make us go into it. When you see that imagery, you have to use your brain and say, why do they want me to participate in this? And you go the opposite way. Because when you look at it, we don't like production. We've been taken out of agriculture. So none of the things they feed in our communities to destroy us, we produce. So you have to ask how they get here and why does the system want us to interact with these things? Because they know if they got you, they know they got the whole community. You know, the women will follow. And this is not me being chauvinist or being saying women don't hold the same value, but you have to look at there's a heavy emphasis on keeping us misguided. So then you take us out of the system, the family system, and then that leaves a woman to raise a kid or children by herself. That's been happening for generations. And look at our community. You have to be able to look and analyze and stay away from these traps. So you all being in a place like Mississippi is an opportune place to be able to get resources and to utilize them to improve your community and situation. The goal isn't to leave your community and never come back. Your goal is to leave the community and then bring resources back, or stay in your community and bring resources in. Do not leave and never come back, because your community will never change. So that's why I'm still here in Durham. This is where I'm from. It's a community we're going to build.
Love it. And I'm definitely going to get you in contact with some more A&T Aggies. You guys are been huge to me on this platform. So I really appreciate it. But again, my man, Kamal Bell, owner of Sankofa Farms, all the way from Durham, North Carolina. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Yeah, and if any of the young black males want to reach out, or the young black women, you all can connect with my wife. She's a doula. She works in with helping
Oh, wow.
birthing services. If you all like want to talk, ask Greg for my information, or I can send it to him, and then I can give you all my email or phone number, and you all can send me a text, and then we can talk or connect. So if y'all want to talk about any of these things further, so I'll be a resource to you all.
Love it. Thanks so much. Kamal Bell. Appreciate it. Talk to you
No
soon, man.
problem. Thank you.
See ya.